Welcome everyone. We are on our second module of this journey over the next year, and welcome Stephanie and Lisa. Lovely to see you here. And Jason, yeah, got a few people popping in at the same time. Lovely to have you here. And yeah, Jason, I've already said hello, haven't I? But you've just moved box, then it gets confusing. So yes, today is all about holding space, and there'll be less theory wise today, and there will be more practice and just small groups of practice, because exploring what we're going to be exploring today, it really is a practice. It's an art form, and you can only deepen into it, and the more you practice, like with many things, the more easeful it becomes. And why I'm bringing this into the program is that there's so many benefits to holding space in the way that I'm going to share with you. And there's also some key principles and some of the rules to what this entails. But first, yeah, let's dive in, and let's start with coming into presence and grounding where we are just now. Because, you've been sharing, you've been on your fourth call so far this morning, and it's just a chance to really arrive more fully in this space for the next 90 or so minutes, so that you can learn in the most effective way. And permission, if you do need permission, to try to begin to let go of anything else that's gone on up until this moment. Because we arrive, from meeting to meeting, and there's the overlap points as well, aren't there? So you can get comfortable where you are in your space, and it's just an invitation to notice your breath as it is just now. You can stay on camera or you can switch off your camera, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And as you're noticing your breath, it is just a noticing. You don't need to change anything or do anything. Just notice, how are you breathing in this moment? And bringing your attention to your inhale and that sensation of your inhale on your nostrils, so the finer details of breathing. And that spaciousness between the inhale and the exhale. And that this magical process continues regardless of anything else that's happening or that's going on in your life. So the breath is your ally to coming more into presence and arriving more fully in this moment. So it's a really quick way to check in with yourself and noticing, are you breathing more shallowly and quick or more slowly? And now it's an invitation to bring your awareness to your feet. And if they are on the floor, and the soles of your feet. And again, this is another great practice to arrive in this moment, because literally you're grounding into the space that you're in. And dogs love this exploration as well. So grounding in and feeling your feet and the soles of your feet on the floor. And no matter where you are in the building, just imagining now there are roots that are unfurling from the soles of your feet and making their way down into the earth. Like a tree, you can feel so supported and literally rooted in. Because your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. Like your breath, your imagination is a powerful ally to support you no matter what else is going on, to invite you into this present moment. And what is this present moment? Only just noticing all that's going on in the here and now. And releasing any tightness of what has gone before. And just noticing where your mind wants to go. Do you want to race into the future? This present moment is just being here and noticing what's going on for you, what's alive for you right now. It can sometimes be the most challenging thing to just sit here and be here. We're so good at distraction and multitasking and planning ahead. And we can be here too and create this spaciousness, which brings so much more ease to all the other stuff. And finally, remember that basket, that in tray that we had last month. Just imagine this is beside you. Maybe you do have an in tray right beside you. And metaphorically speaking, you can place anything that's distracting you or on your mind, that to-do list, just either literally pop it in your tray or imaginatively place it there. Because it's amazing when you focus more on the present, then the other things that are to be done can become more easeful. And maybe the urgency or the importance of them can also change as well. So just place it all in there and come back to the here and now and your breath. Just noticing, has anything changed with your breathing? Isn't it amazing? Our breath just keeps on breathing us in every moment. And just noticing your roots again, your feet in contact with the floor. And today we're exploring the art, the practice of holding space. And it starts right here, because you're already doing it by being here and being in the present moment. And it is all about inviting more balance into life, into work, the being and the doing. So thank you for being here. And you can keep your roots where they are, if you wish, rooted into the ground, the earth, or you can curl them back up into the soles of your feet so that they're there ready for when you next need to root in even more. And just take a few deep breaths if you wish, and welcome here again. And just notice for yourself, because this is a noticing practice, what difference, if any, this has made for you. And thank you for obliging. And if you do go back and watch the replay, if you had your eyes closed, there was a lovely visit from Richard's border collie. That was such a lovely moment. So, And animals are so great, aren't they? As they're always in the present moment. So they help us and remind us to be here with them. Okay, so I'm going to share PowerPoint. So, can you see that? Yeah, cool. Module 2, holding space for presence, grounding and listening. So what we'll explore today will support you throughout this whole program. But I want to do a quick check-in from a refresher reminder from what we explored last month as well. And this is the way we'll continue to flow each month. You know, you don't have to remember everything, but we'll remind you and repeat and just allow all that we're learning and sharing to continue to sink in and deepen and to inspire you to bring into your daily work in what you do. So firstly, what we are exploring today are the 6 keys to holding space. What are they? Why are they useful? And how can you incorporate them into your work and your life? We'll practice holding space. Actually, we're going to do that first, so the other way around. And then you will be able to experience what difference, if any, this makes for you, just like the exercise that we did there. It is so wonderful, a tool for releasing any overwhelm, just like coming into the present moment is an amazing tool for the overwhelm that may exist in work, in life, when we go too far into the future and there's so much that we feel we need to remember and hold. This is an invitation to loosen it, release it, place it down for a moment. And then the practical applications, what are they? The practice is important. So a reminder from last month, the wheel that we built up and walked together in our first session. So there was a lot that I introduced last month. So again, it's the reminder that we continue to walk this wheel, and actually seasonally we are in spring equinox. And we're in spring equinox for the course of about 6 weeks, in the real season. And equinox, equal night, it is all about balance. So the east and the west are the equinox points on the leadership wheel. And it is all about the balance of the dark and the light, the yin and the yang, the doing and the being. So it's a reminder just to notice, what's this balance for you? How are the scales tipping? And how are you feeling with that? Because that's the key aspect. So it's the bridge walker, and literally we're walking the bridge continuously between the seasons, between the winter and the summer, between the archetypes, the pioneer and the performer. So that's your role as the bridge walker in supporting your colleagues and as your role in the PCRF as well. So walking the bridge, where there's the gap between where you are now and where you want to get to. The bridge is that support structure for us, literally. And ultimately, within the 12 months that we'll be together for this journey, we'll explore all aspects of this wheel for you to use as your map, as your compass, as a reminder to return to your power, your inner power that's always here within you. As you get to know yourself even more, even the parts of yourself that you may not quite like or maybe hide away or shut away. So I'm not asking for you to step on stage and reveal all as the performer, but it's just to bring more of that to your work and life. There's 2 flies here flying about, performing. So as a reminder, I had some tasks, developmental tasks. And I know I said in the very outset that there wouldn't be much, that I'd be asking of you between modules. But actually, there's quite a list here. I do acknowledge that. But here they are again. And again, it's a reminder. So have you had a chance? It's not naming and shaming here at all. It's just a reminder for you to continue to work on and write your empowering affirmations in the present tense using the I am structure as if you are that person, that archetype in the now. And again, your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and imagined. So when we speak in this way, it's like a mantra type affirmation. Then that repetition actually becomes our reality. So we are casting spells with our words. So it's a reminder to go back to them, repeat them, develop them, elaborate on them. And it's a wonderful thing to say to yourself before a meeting, before a session, just to really connect with your inner power. And thank you. Many of you have completed the questionnaire to get that snapshot of where you are starting from. So if you haven't, then do it when you get a moment. It's very quick, hopefully, and I'll send the link out. I'll pop the link in the chat in a moment when I stop sharing the screen. And the snapshot, we'll refer back to it, so it gives you an idea of how you are progressing on this journey as well. And then reminder to choose an archetype. Who are you going to be? Who are you going to be this month? Are you the pioneer? Are you the bridge walker, the performer, the coach? And to remember the different essences and energies of each of them and the attributes. Okay, so they are the task check-ins. And it would be wonderful now to actually give you a chance to connect with each other and go into small breakout rooms. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So probably 2 groups of 3, Heather, and a group of 2. And just to share what's been going on for you in relation to any of that, the leadership wheel, the affirmations. And honestly, be honest, if it's just gone like a flash and you're like, oh my goodness, was I here last month? Did we really explore all of that? Just share with your group what's going on for you and inspire each other. If you have written affirmations, maybe you want to share them. And as Heather said, the breakout rooms aren't recorded, so feel free to chat and connect. And we'll give about 10 minutes so that everyone has a chance to share. And then we'll call you back to the bigger group. So is it clear what your mission is? Any questions before you go in? Okay. So join your group when you're ready and explore what's the journey been like for you so far. Enjoy. Welcome back. So how was that? Anything you want to share? Anything that came up? Insights, questions? Or were you just having a blether?
I think my feedback was that it's gone really, really quickly since we met last. So I probably found that time's just flown by. For me, I think understanding how to put some of the stuff you talked about into practice will really help me bring it to life a little bit more. I think when I sat at the end of the last session and tried to write some affirmations, I was really bad at it. But I know that my inner voice is terrible and talks to me all of the time. So I know I do some affirmations because, if I've got a meeting that I'm maybe feeling more anxious about or something coming up, then, your inner voice is telling you that you can do it and those sorts of things. So I think I probably do it subconsciously, but when I actually come to try and think about doing it, I find it really, really hard to do. So I think for me, yeah, it would be good to explore some of the more practical application.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and it is, we're retraining our brain basically because we are so good at telling ourselves what we're not good at and how we could have done better and all of that. I know I'm generalizing here. Some of you are like, no, I'm great at this, but it's that voice, that inner voice. So we're retraining. So it's a process. It's a process, which is why the affirmations can be so powerful. So yeah, we'll incorporate that in either today, at the end of today, or for the next session. Or even I can do like a separate video that could help to really write or build up the affirmations. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And it has gone so quickly, hasn't it? I feel the
Really
same.
fast.
Yeah. Would anyone else like to share any insights, questions? What else would help?
We probably had very similar, really, as Lisa, in terms of when Ted and I chatted. We can't believe how quickly actually the month has gone. It seems to have flown by. It was only yesterday, I think, that we were online chatting together. So we sort of chatted for a little bit about what it meant in terms of the wheel, getting used to that, understanding that brief understanding, how we apply it into our roles, and how actually we see those different areas of the wheel in different, but probably throughout the day, depending upon which meetings they are, who we're engaging with. But certainly it was good to sort of reflect back on that, have an opportunity. We felt one of the biggest things really was the ability to chat through it as we did in the last session, and have those opportunities to practically work out things together. We talked about with Emma about the inclusion of that within the forum meetings as well, and how we actually bring it into those meetings so that actually we keep it alive in meetings. It's not we do a training session, we forget it, we do the next training session in the month, but how do we bring it alive in our forum meetings? So that would certainly be good to take forward to understand how we do that, because it's very easy in busy lives to then just go back into your busyness and not take that time to reflect.
Definitely, yeah. And that it will be, there'll be different stages throughout our 12 months together where it'll be like, oh yeah, I get it now. There'll be different moments like that of insight, and I'll build in time for that, the practical application. And to be honest, you're already applying it. So taking part in that presencing exercise in the beginning, that is practical application to incorporate from now on into your life, into your work. So the practice and the practical, it's happening now as well, which may bring some comfort too. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone else like to share?
I think
Any questions?
Jason and I had something very similar. So we said obviously it would depend on type of situation you're in, or who potentially you're speaking to, which stakeholders within the business, that you draw on different things. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, I think we pretty much had what everybody else had. So it was a good conversation. So
yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, and it can be 4 seasons in one day as well. And you'll get to know these different archetypes and begin to recognize them in yourself as well over time too. Okay. We're now going to do some more practice, which is the art of holding space. And you might have heard of the topic or the subject being, it's kind of part of or can be part of our language, holding space. So we're going to practice this first, and then I'll bring in the theory so that you get a feel, like a real visceral feel for what this is, and then we'll explore the theory. So it's an invitation actually to relax the logical mind and to be with what's arriving for you. So we're kind of turning things around a little bit. So holding space is really listening, deep listening. And what we're doing is reminding ourselves we're listening to another person if we're in that communication mode, and also are listening to what's going on within ourselves. And this will lead on to what we'll be exploring next month as well around the drama triangle. The more awareness we bring and the more attention we bring and notice what's going on within ourselves, then it actually magically brings so much more ease and reduces or eliminates conflict in the workplace. Imagine that. It doesn't have to be there, honestly. So this practice, it just deepens more and more. I came across this when I was training to be a coach, a soul-based coach back in 2017. And I'd already learned coaching in the corporate, in my standard life days. I'd learned to become a coach, a grow coach, which was absolutely wonderful. And then this, becoming a soul-based coach, really helped me deepen into this art of listening to myself, because I really didn't want to turn the spotlight onto myself and listen to what was going on, and at the same time listen to the other person. So your task is just now, we're going to go into groups, we've mixed them up a bit again. There'll be groups of 2 and a group of 3. But it's an invitation for one person to volunteer to be the speaker. And your task is to speak for 3 minutes. Now, you don't have to speak for 3 minutes, but you can just share what's going on for you. As I phrase it, what's alive for you right now in this moment. Because we are dynamic beings, and in every second and every moment, we're changing. So what's alive? What are you noticing? So you can speak about what's occupying your mind, what you want to share, what you want to get off your chest in that way, just like you're supporting colleagues and staff in that way. And then it's bringing even more attention into what's that feeling like within you. So I know for me personally, when I started practicing this, I did not enjoy it. So I'm not planting a seed of not enjoying it. Actually, I've just said that now, haven't I? So it felt different. It felt awkward. It felt uncomfortable. So just invite that in and even share that, or just notice that. Like learning anything new, it can potentially feel awkward or uncomfortable at the start. But the more we practice, the more easeful it comes. So the speaker, you're going to speak or share what's alive for you, what's going on for 3 minutes. And if there's nothing to share, you can just sit in silence and just notice what you notice when you're doing that. Sit in silence with your partner. How radical. And the other person is going to listen. Listen. So listen in every sense of the way. Listen to the words that your partner's sharing. Listen to how they are sharing it. So where's the emphasis on different things? We're not going to be testing you on any of this afterwards, by the way. So it's just bringing your full presence, reconnect with your roots and your breath, and listen, notice. And also as the listener, it's an invitation too to notice what's going on within you as you're listening to this person. Are you noticing that you want to interject and ask a question? This is a very common trait amongst society. I know. I've got the solution for you. No, you don't need to share anymore. I'm going to tell you what this solution is. So it's very common and normal that we want to perhaps interject, maybe interrupt, or we're sitting there just waiting for the person to finish so we can share our wisdom. Happens to me all the time. So notice, but don't say anything. Zip it, basically. Sit in your hands if you need to, as a kind of anchor or a reminder. I'm not sharing anything. I know I really want to. And notice, but just pure honesty. Oh, there I go. I want to ask a question, but I'm not allowed. I want to say something. Can't. Wow. So it's a bit of a dance, this holding space malarkey. And notice if there's anything where you might feel triggered or uncomfortable by what the person's sharing. So again, it's really noticing within you, within your mind, within your body. That's such an amazing teacher. And this is all about coming back into our power, because you know best as the unique being that you are. Does that make sense? Because I've shared a lot there. Okay, so speaker, decide when you get in your group who's going to speak, who's going to listen. Listener, listen to the other person, to yourself. Speaker, speak to the other person and notice what's going on for you. 3 minutes only. We can't send messages to you while you're in the breakout room. So if you could, if you have a phone handy or a clock, just keep an eye on the time, but we'll call you back anyway after 3 minutes. Now you might be tempted to have a little chat and oh my God, just go straight into it once you've decided, okay, this is like quick fire stuff here. Make sense? Okay. So Heather will do the magical work of opening up the rooms. I'll get my stopwatch ready and just have fun. Learning can be fun.
It's quite difficult. You like to have a two-way conversation, so it's like, is this topic interesting to you? Do you have a question? Do you have an observation? Yeah, it was a long 3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're trained in that way, aren't we? Communication is a two-way process. You speak, the other person asks a question or comments or summarises.
Yeah, it did
Kevin's giving me nods and sorry, Jason.
I was say it didn't seem that long to me, but I totally agree. I struggled a bit with you're not saying anything.
Yeah. And then that voice, as Emma was saying, like, is this interesting? What I'm talking about? So that inner critic comes up again as we start talking to ourselves because we're not getting the external reaction. Yeah. Or we are, but maybe not the way we would like.
I was trying to do that, not look at Lisa and Stephanie, because I didn't want to see their reactions about what I was babbling on about. So I might have made me stop to listen to them giving me feedback, and that's not the point of it, is it? They had to just listen. So I just tried to look to the side or down as I was speaking.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? And you, the group of 3, so it was like 2 sets of eyes on you. Not intense at all, no. Wow. And when you were speaking, is there anything else the speakers noticed going on within you? Did you notice anything flowing through you? Any phrases, any feelings? Any like, oh my goodness, when is this up? This is a long 3 minutes.
I think you still feel connected to the person because you're seeing their body language, like nodding or like you can see, like I could tell Ted wanted to say something a few times and it's like, so I still think you feel a connection, but you also say more than you would normally say. Like I think I'm quite a private person, and so like sometimes I'll say things and I think, oh, I don't know if I wanted to share that. Whereas when you're the only person speaking, you fill that space with stuff that you maybe wouldn't have anticipated that you would say.
Yeah. And that it is when we hold space in this way, it is a confidential container, really. And that's the magic of it, that more comes out. So we get the surface stuff out, what's here on the surface, and then that opens up space for what else wants to be shared. So it's not to put you in a vulnerable, exposed place, but it's connecting in with your inner power and what wants to be expressed in that moment. So how useful could this be for the colleagues, the people that you support? It's kind of a rhetorical question. I'm only expecting one answer there. And it's more to plant the seed of how could this be useful. But I want to check in as well with the listeners and how that was listening. So Emma was sharing, you could see Ted wanted to say something. Is that true, Ted? We'll give you a chance to speak.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, Steph will tell you, I can talk for hours about anything. And, I feel, I mean, I've had regular sort of interactions with Emma, over the past 12 months and what have you. But I feel like I know her so much more after 3 minutes of just sat there listening. And, like she said, they were personal things. She wasn't sure what to talk about. And it was so eye-opening, really, to know that she's got all this stuff going on, and we're working together, and you don't consider a lot of it. It's just, sometimes it's just a purely personal, professional relationship, and you're emailing back and forth, not even talking in some respects of communication, and then just to sit there listening for 3 minutes, it went quite quickly for me, even though I felt uncomfortable that I sort of couldn't comment back or ask or reassure in some ways. So that's exactly where it left me. But yeah, I feel quite honoured that you shared what you shared, to be honest, Emma. I don't know, like you say, if you're quite a private person, I can appreciate that being a bit hard. So yeah, I got a lot out of that.
Amazing.
By saying nothing.
Yeah, isn't it? And in one way, like, it can take the pressure off as well. And that's only 3 minutes. And that gift that you are gifting to Emma, just to, in that example, in that scenario, is to give that space to be listened to be seen, to be heard for who you are. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Any other listeners want to share? What did you notice?
I think for me as a listener, I really struggled to just listen, and Ted used the word reassure, and that was definitely the word I would use. It was good. I kind of had to put myself in mute, and I honestly did sit on my hands, because I was like, I really wanted to interject and just reassure or ask a question. I think I've always been told that when you have a conversation with someone, you ask questions on what they're talking about, so that they know that you're listening, and you are listening because you're asking questions on what they're saying. But I think there's also a time and a place. And actually, you never know we say this all the time, but you never know what someone's going through or what's going on in someone's life. So it's that misconception as well, I think, that's sometimes around. But yeah, definitely the reassuring part was really, really hard for me. And Russ did a great job and spoke for a long time too. But yeah, I really struggled to not say anything. But it was really good. And although it was only 3 minutes, I think, like Ted said, I got a lot out of it. And I think Lisa did. We both said right at the end of it.
Yeah, it's really similar in terms of having to stop yourself from not necessarily asking questions, but it is that reassurance, because I suppose when you try and actively listen, I know Russ wasn't looking, but you sort of nod your head a lot to acknowledge that you're listening. And I think in conversations, I probably go, yeah, so that people know that you're listening and taking on board what they're saying as well. So I found it really hard not to say anything at all.
And
it's very similar, I think.
Yeah,
you definitely. When there are bits saying, actually, I can relate to that. You want to actually affirm that. But what's good as well is spending a bit of time just looking at. Actually, I think Jason was probably more animated because he wasn't getting me saying this or saying that, which would stop him in his tracks. He was able to sort of chat through and be quite animated about what he was sharing, because there was no interruptions, and so it was quite nice to be able to sit back and just have a look at that and think, that's nice to see someone animated talking about things that are exciting them or live with them at the moment. So yeah, that was interesting to do, and I think it was easier there not to say anything, so looking at it in a different way and seeing the sort of reactions and emotions of the person speaking. was definitely different to what it would be if you go in and affirm and break up their flow.
Yes. Yeah. When you're in that flow, and we want to flow as humans. The river wants to flow. So it's letting that flow happen organically and naturally in that way.
I think there's a
Lisa.
natural tendency as well, isn't there, that when people pause, and maybe it is when people are, wanting to gather their thoughts on what to say next, that people find the pause very uncomfortable, so you try and fill it. And I think that sometimes can stop the individual from actually opening up that bit more. My boss is really good at allowing that uncomfortable pause to make other people talk, but I don't think it comes naturally to a lot of people, and people find a pause really awkward. So I think that is when you can start jumping in and, maybe looking to share your experience or diverting the conversation a certain way, because it can be difficult silence as well.
Yeah. And these the diverting it is like, oh, look over there, this is getting uncomfortable. Woo. I'm gonna say absolutely, and it's the power of the pause in that moment, and something that helps, we'll explore this more in future modules as well, is just noticing the person's body language, not in a like I'm mind reading you, and notice where are their eyes going, because we'll explore eye movements, and it's a really useful ally for listening, because if their eyes are kind of going in different directions, they're still thinking inwardly, so there's more to come. Until then they come back to you, and that's like signal, oh, you're done. So the pause, and even counting to 5. I'll ask a question and I'll count to 5. If there's no response, I'll count to 10, and maybe keep going. But it's like something tangible, just to allow the pause when it does or can feel uncomfortable.
Really like the pause as well, because I think that some people share almost like that sort of surface level of information, and if you respond right at the back of that, sometimes they stop sharing, so all you ever get is that surface bit, and it's almost like a tester for somebody that's speaking. So if you pause and you don't say anything in between that, they then sometimes open up a little bit further as well and share a little bit more information, because they feel that they've got that space and that captive audience to speak as well. But I think it does take a lot to have that pause, because it's a little bit uncomfortable at times, isn't it? And you kind of go, should I say something, should I not say something? But I've always found, actually, if you just take a little bit of a step back and let the person gather their thoughts and then continue the conversation, I think you get more out of it as well.
Yeah. And literally, like Stephanie, you mentioned like muting, and I know when we're on screen, but literally that step back, what is it? Sinking back into your chair, sitting on your hands, noticing your breath. These all take a few seconds to allow that pause. It's really powerful. And I just want to come back to the when you shared as well about the reassurance part. So wanting to say something or to offer reassurance. And I just want to ask the speakers, do you feel you needed reassurance when you were sharing? Like, was that something you would have liked?
I mean, not in that 3 minutes, not necessarily.
Yeah,
I'd agree. Just get out what it's kind of like a release, isn't it? If you're saying something, you just want to say it and then wait for response afterwards, I suppose. So I think the 3 minutes was just about right.
Yeah, and again, it will link to when we explore the drama triangle next time, and one of the roles is the rescuer. So it's that, like, we want to swoop in and help because we're caring, we really want to help, and it can be very strong in, forums like this, because you've stepped in to be in this role, because you care and you want to help people. So holding space in this way, even for 30 seconds, it doesn't have to be the 3 minutes, is such a support energetically for you. And that permission, if you ever did need permission, that you don't have to swoop in straight away. You can let the power of the pause do the work. You can let the space do the work, because you're creating this energetic space for this conversation to flow. Okay, it's one way in that moment, and then you can speak, ask questions, share your insights, and all the things that we're taught to do and how to communicate. So this is just the step before. Yeah. Okay, well, how about we practice the other way then? So the listeners, you get to speak, and then in the group of 3, there'll be one observer again. Well, 2 listeners and a speaker, so you can decide who's going to do that. So again, another 3 minutes, and then when you come back, I'll share the 6 principles. Oh, the suspense. So practice again and just notice what else you notice. So same groups? Yeah, cool. And enjoy.